Another stream, another meme. This is Alcoholics Anonymous number 3. With the pig on the bed. Alcoholics Anonymous number 3, pioneer member of Akron's group number 1, the first AA group in the world. Where are you going, Barb? Okay. One of 5 children, I was born on a Kentucky farm in Carlisle County. My parents were well-to-do people, and their marriage was a happy one. My wife, a Kentucky girl, came with me to Akron, where I completed my course in law at the Akron Law School. My case is rather unusual in one respect. There were no childhood episodes of unhappiness to account for my alcoholism. I had seemingly just a natural affinity for grog. Grog! I have grog. I'm streaming Heal, Alcoholics Anonymous number 3, page 182 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I have grog. My case is rather unusual in one respect. There were no childhood episodes of unhappiness to account for my alcoholism. I can't relate to that, bro. I had seemingly just a natural affinity for grog. I love the word grog. My marriage was happy, and I never had any of the reasons, conscious or unconscious, which are often given for drinking. Yet, as my record shows, I did become an extremely serious case. Before my drinking had cut me down completely, I achieved a considerable measure of success. Having been a city councilman for 5 years and a financial director of a suburb, later taken into the city itself. But of course, this all went down the drain with my increased drinking. So at the time Dr. Bob and Bill came along, I had about run out of my strength. First time that I became intoxicated, I was 8 years old. This was no fault of my father or mother, as they were both very much opposed to drinking. A couple of hired hands were cleaning out the barn on the farm, and I was riding to and fro on the sled. And while they were loading, I drank hard cider out of a barrel in the barn. On the return trip, after 2 or 3 loads, I passed out and had to be carried to the house. I remember that my father kept whiskey around the house for medical purposes and entertainment, and I would drink from this when no one was about, and then water it to keep my parents from knowing I was drinking. This continued until I enrolled in our state university At the end of the 4 years, I realized that I was drunk. Morning after morning, I woke sick and with terrible jitters. But there was always a flask of liquor sitting on the table beside my bed. I would reach over and get this and take a shot, and in a few moments get up and take another, shave, eat my breakfast, slip a half a pint of liquor in my hip pocket, and go on to school. Between classes, I would run down to the washroom, take enough to steady my nerves, and then go on to the next class. This was in 1917. Oh man, people were around back then. Wow. I left the university in the latter part of my senior year and enlisted in the Army. At the time, I called it patriotism. Later, I realized that I was running from alcohol. It did help to a certain extent, since I found myself in places where I could not obtain anything to drink, and so broke the habitual drinking. Then Prohibition came into effect, and the facts that the stuff obtainable was so horrible and sometimes deadly, and that I had married and had a job which I to look after helped me for a period of some 3 or 4 years. Although I would get drunk every time I could get a hold of enough to drink to get started. My wife and I belonged to some bridge clubs, and they began to make wine and serve it. However, after 2 or 3 trials, I found this was not satisfactory because they did not serve enough to satisfy me, so I would refuse to drink. This problem was soon solved, however, as I began to take my bottle along with me and hide it in the bathroom or in the shrubbery outside. As time went on, my drinking became progressively worse. I would be away from my office 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Horrible days and nights when I would lie on the floor of my home and reach over to get the bottle, take a drink, and then go back into oblivion. During my first 6 months of 1935, I was hospitalized 8 times. On June 26, 1935, I came into the hospital, and to say I was discouraged is to put it mildly. Each of the 7 times that I had left this hospital in the previous 6 months, I had come out fully determined in my own mind that I would not get drunk again for at least 6 or 8 months. It hadn't worked out that way, and I didn't know what the matter was and did not know what to do. I was moved into another room that morning, and there was my wife. I thought to myself, well, she's going to tell me this is the end, and I certainly couldn't blame her, and I did not intend to try to justify myself. And she told me she had been talking to a couple of fellows about drinking. I resented this much until she informed me that they were a couple of drunks, just as I was. That wasn't so bad to tell it to another drunk. She said, "You're gonna quit." That was worth a lot, even though I didn't believe it. And then she told me that these 2 drunks she had been talking to had a plan whereby they thought they could quit drinking. And part of that plan was that they tell it to another drunk. This was going to help them stay sober. All the other people who had talked to me wanted to help me, and my pride prevented me from listening to them and caused only resentment on my part. But I felt as if I would be a real stinker if I did not listen to a couple of fellows for a short time, if that would cure them. My wife also told me that I could not pay them even if I wanted to, and had the money, which I did not. They came in and began to give me instruction in the program that later became known as Alcoholics Anonymous. There was not much of it at the time. I looked up, and there were two great big fellows over 6 foot tall, very likable looking. I knew afterwards that the two who came in were Bill W. and Dr. Bub. Before very long, we began to relate some incidents of our drinking, and pretty soon I realized that both of them knew that they were what they were talking about. Because you can see things and smell things when you're drunk that you can't other times. If I had thought they didn't know what they were talking about, I wouldn't have been willing to talk to them at all. After a while, Bill said, "Well, now you've been talking a good long time. Let me talk a minute or two." So after hearing some more of my story, he turned around and said to Doc, "I don't think he knew I heard him, but I did." He said, "Well, I believe he's worth saving and working on." They said to me, "Do you want to quit drinking? It's none of our business about your drinking. We're not up here trying to take any of your rights or privileges away from you, but we have a program whereby we think we can stay sober. Part of that program is that we take it to someone else who needs it and wants it. Now, if you don't want it, we'll not take up your time, and we'll be going and looking for someone else." The next thing they wanted to know was if I thought I could quit of my own accord without any help. If I could just walk out of the hospital and never take another drink. If I could, that was wonderful. That was just fine. And they would very much appreciate a person who had that kind of power. But they were looking for a man who knew he had a problem and knew he couldn't handle it himself and needed outside help. The next thing they wanted to know was if I believed in a higher power. I had no trouble there because I had never actually ceased to believe in God and had tried lots of times to get help but hadn't succeeded. Next, they wanted to know, would I be willing to go to this higher power and ask for help calmly without any reservations? They left this with me to think over, and I lay there on the hospital bed and went back over and reviewed my life. I thought of what liquor had done to me, the opportunities that I had discarded, the abilities that had given me, and how I had wasted them. And I finally came to the conclusion that if I didn't want to quit, I certainly ought to want to, and that I was willing to do anything in the world to stop drinking. I was willing to admit to myself that I had hit bottom, that I had gotten hold of something that I didn't know how to handle by myself. So after reviewing these things and realizing what liquor had cost me, I went to this higher power that to me was God, without any reservation, and admitted that I was completely powerless over alcohol and that I was willing to do anything in the world to get rid of the problem. In fact, I admitted that from then on, I was willing to let God take over instead of me. Each day I would try to find out what His will was and try to follow that rather than trying to tell Him to always agree that the things I thought up for myself were the things best for me. So when they came back, I told them. One of the fellows, I think it was Doc, said, "Well, you want to quit?" I said, "Yes, Doc, I would like to quit, at least for 5, 6, or 8 months until I get things straightened up and begin to get the respect of my wife and some other people back and get my finances fixed up and so on." And they both laughed very heartily and said, "That's better than you've been doing, isn't it?" Which of course was true. They said, "We've got some bad news for you. It was bad news for us, and it probably be bad news for you. Whether you quit 6 days, months, or years, if you go out and take a drink or two, you'll end up in this hospital tied down just like you have been these past 6 months. You're an alcoholic." As far as I know, that was the first time I ever paid any attention to that word. I figured I was just a drunk. And they said, "No, you have a disease, and it doesn't make any difference how long you do without it. After a drink or two, you'll end up just like you are now. That certainly was a real disheartening news at the time. The next question they asked, you can quit 24 hours, can't you? I said, sure, yes, anybody can do that for 24 hours. They said, that's what we're talking about, just 24 hours at a time. That sure did take a load off my mind. Every time I'd start thinking about drinking, I would think of the long, dry years ahead without having a drink. But this idea of 24 hours, that it was up to me from then on, was a lot of help. And there's some editor's notes that I'm not going to read. Oh, wait, should I? At this point, the editors intrude just long enough to supplement Bill D's account that the man under the bed and Bill W., the man who sat by the side of the bed, says Bill W., 19 years ago last summer, Dr. Bob and I saw him, Bill D., for the first time. Bill lay on his hospital bed and looked at us in wonder. 2 days before this, Dr. Bob had said to me, if you and I are going to stay sober, we had better get busy. Straight away, Bob called Akron City's hospital and asked for the nurse on the receiving ward. He explained that he had a man from New York had a cure for alcoholism. Did she have an alcoholic customer on whom it could be tried? Knowing Bob of old, she jokingly replied, well, doctor, I suppose you've already tried it yourself. Yes, she did have a customer, a dandy. He had just arrived in DT's, had blackened the eyes of 2 nurses, and now they had him strapped down tight. Would this one do? After prescribing medicines, Dr. Bob ordered, put him in a private room. We'll be down as soon as he clears up. Bill didn't seem too impressed. Looking sadder than ever, he wearily ventured, well, this is wonderful for you fellows, but it can't be for me. My case is so terrible that I'm scared to go out of the hospital at all. You don't have to tell me religion either. I was at one time a deacon in the church, and I still believe in God, but I guess he doesn't believe much in me. Then Dr. Bob said, well, Bill, maybe you'll feel better tomorrow. Wouldn't you like to see us again? Sure I would, replied Bill. Maybe it won't do any good, but I'd like to see you both anyhow. You certainly know what you're talking about. Looking in later, we found Bill with his wife, Henrietta. Eagerly, he pointed to us, saying, these are the fellows I told you about. They're the ones who understand. Bill then related how he had lain awake nearly all night, down in the pit of his depression. New hope had somehow been born. The thought flashed through his mind, if they can do it, I can do it. Over and over he said this to himself. Finally, out of his hope, there burst conviction. Now he was sure. Then came a great joy. At length, peace stole over him, and he slept. Before our visit was over, Bill suddenly turned to his wife and said, go fetch my clothes, dear. We're going to get up and get out of here. Bill D. walked out of that hospital a free man, never to drink again. AA's number 1 group dates from that very day. Bill D. now continues his story. It was the next 2 or 3 days after I had first met Doc and Bill that I finally came to the decision to turn my will over to God and to go along with this program the best I could find. Their talk and action had instilled in me a certain amount of confidence. Although I was not too absolutely certain, I wasn't afraid that the program wouldn't work. But I still was doubtful whether I would be able to hang on to the program. But I did come to the conclusion that I was willing to put everything I had into it. With God's power, and that I wanted to do just that. As soon as I had done that, I did feel a great release. I knew that I had a helper whom I could rely on, who wouldn't fail me. If I could stick to him and listen, I would make it. I remember when the boys came back, I told them, I have gone to this higher power, and I have told him that I'm willing to put his world first, above everything. I have already done it, and I'm willing to do it again here in the presence of you. Or I'm willing to say it in any place, anywhere in the world, now on and on, not to be ashamed of it. And this certainly gave me a lot of confidence and seemed to take a lot of the burden off me. I remember telling them too that it was going to be awfully tough because I did some other things, smoked cigarettes and played penny ante poker and sometimes bet on the horse races. And they said, "Don't you think you're having more trouble with this drinking than with anything else at the present time? Don't you believe you're going to have all you can to do to get rid of that?" "Yes," I said reluctantly, "I probably will." They said, "Let's forget about those other things. That is, trying to eliminate them all at once and concentrate on the drink." Of course, we had talked over quite a number of the failings that I had and made sort of an inventory, which wasn't too difficult because I had an awful lot of things wrong that were very apparent to me. Then they said, "There is one other thing. You should go out and take this program to somebody else who needs it and wants it." Of course, by this time, my business was practically non existent. I didn't have any. Naturally, for quite a time, I wasn't too well physically either. It took me a year or a year and a half to get to feeling physically well, and it was rather tough, but I soon found folks whose friendship I had once had, and I found after I had been sober for quite some little time that these people began to act like they had in previous years before I had gotten so bad, so that I didn't pay too awful much attention to financial gains. I spent most of my time trying to get back these friendships and to make some recompense toward my wife, whom I'd hurt a lot. It would be hard to estimate how much AA has done for me. I really wanted the program, and I wanted to go along with it. I noticed that the others seemed to have such a release, a happiness, a something that I thought a person ought to have. I was trying to find the answer. I knew there was even more, something I hadn't got. And I remember one day, a week or two after I'd come out of the hospital, Bill was at my house talking to my wife and me. We were eating lunch, and I was listening and trying to find out why they had this release that they seemed to have. Bill looked across at my wife and said to her, "Henrietta, the Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me of this terrible disease, that I just want to keep talking about it and telling people." I thought, I think I have the answer. Bill was very, very grateful that he had been released from his terrible thing, and he had given God the credit for having done it, and he's so grateful about it, he wants to tell other people about it. That sentence, "The Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me of this terrible disease, that I just want to keep telling people about it," has been a sort of golden text for the AA program for me. Of course, as time went on, I began to get my health back and began to be so I didn't have to hide from people all the time. It's just been wonderful. I still go to meetings because I like to go. I meet the people that I like to talk to. Another reason that I go is that I'm still grateful for the good years that I've had. I'm so grateful for both the program and the people in it that I still want to go. And then probably the most wonderful thing that I've learned from the program, I've seen this in the AA grapevine a lot of times, and I've had people say it to me personally, and I've heard people get up in meetings and say it, is this statement: "I came into AA solely for the purpose of sobriety, but it has been through AA that I have found God." I feel that is about the most wonderful thing that a person can do. Number 2, gratitude in action. The story of Dave B., one of the founders of AA in Canada in 1944. I believe it would be good to tell the story of my life. Doing so will give me the opportunity to remember that I must be grateful to God and to those members of Alcoholics Anonymous who knew AA before me. Telling my story reminds me that I could go back to where I was if I forget the wonderful things that have been given to me, or forget that God is the guide who keeps me on this path. In June 1924, I was 16 years old and had just graduated from high school in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Some of my friends suggested that we go for a beer. I had never had beer or any other form of alcohol. I don't know why, since we always had alcohol at home. I should add that no one in my family was ever considered an alcoholic. Well, I was afraid my friends wouldn't like me if I didn't do as they did. I knew firsthand that mysterious state of people who appear to be sure of themselves but are actually eaten alive with fear inside. I had a rather strong inferiority complex. I believe I lacked what my father used to call character. So on that nice summer day in an old inn in Sherbrooke, I didn't find the courage to say no. I became an active alcoholic from that first day, when alcohol produced a very special effect in me. I was transformed. Alcohol suddenly made me into what I had always wanted to be. Alcohol became my everyday companion. At first, I considered it a friend. Later, it became a heavy load I couldn't get rid of. It turned out to be much more powerful than I was, even if for many years I could stay sober for short periods. I kept telling myself that one way or another I would get rid of alcohol. I was convinced I would find a way to stop drinking. I didn't want to acknowledge that alcohol had become so important in my life. Indeed, alcohol was giving me something I didn't want to lose. In 1934, a series of mishaps occurred because of my drinking. I had to come back from Western Canada because the bank I worked for lost confidence in me. An elevator accident cost me all the toes of one foot and a skull fracture. Oh my God, toes. I was in the hospital for months. My excessive drinking also caused a brain hemorrhage, which completely paralyzed one side of my body. Oh my God. I probably did my first step the day I came by ambulance to Western Hospital. A night shift nurse asked me, "Mr. B, why do you drink so much? You have a wonderful wife, a bright little boy. You have no reason to drink like that. Why do you?" Being honest for the first time, I said, "I don't know, nurse. I really don't know." That was many years before I learned about the fellowship. Hi, Bob. How are you? You might think I'd tell myself if alcohol causes so much harm, I will stop drinking. But I found countless reasons to prove to myself that alcohol had nothing to do with my misfortunes. I told myself it was because of fate, because everyone was against me, because things weren't going well. I sometimes thought that God did not exist. I thought if this loving God exists, as they say, he would not treat me this way. God would not act like this. I felt sorry for myself a lot in those days. My family and employers were concerned about my drinking, but I had become rather arrogant. I bought a 1931 Ford with an inheritance from my grandmother and my wife, and I made a trip to Cape Cod. On the way back, we stopped at my uncle's place in New Hampshire. This uncle had taken me under his wing at the time of my mother's death, and he worried about me. Now he said to me, "Dave, if you stop drinking for a full year, I will give you the Ford Roadster I just bought." I love that car, so I immediately promised I wouldn't drink for a whole year, and I meant it. Yet I was drinking again before we reached the Canadian border. I was powerless over alcohol. I was learning that I could do nothing to fight it off, even while I was denying the fact. On Easter weekend, 1944, I found myself in a jail cell in Montreal. By now, I was drinking to escape the horrible thoughts I had whenever I was sober enough to become aware of my situation. I was drinking to avoid seeing what I had become. The job I'd had for 20 years and the new car were long gone. I had undergone 3 stays in a psychiatric hospital. God knows I didn't want to drink, yet to my great despair, I always returned to the infernal merry-go-round. I wondered how this misery would end. I was full of my fear. I was afraid to tell others what I felt, lest they would think I was insane. I was terribly lonely, full of self pity, and terrified. Most of all, I was in a deep depression. Then I recalled a book given to me by my sister Jean about drunks as desperate as I was, who had found a way to stop drinking. According to this book, these drunks had found a way to live like other human beings, to get up in the morning, go to work, and return home in the evening. This book was about Alcoholics Anonymous. I decided to get in touch with them. I had much difficulty in reaching AA. In New York, as AA wasn't as well known then. I finally spoke to a woman, Bobby, who said words I hope I never forget. I'm an alcoholic. We have recovered. If you want, we'll help you. She told me about herself and added that many other drunks had used this method to stop drinking. What impressed me most in this conversation was the fact that these people 500 miles away cared enough to try to help me. Here I was feeling sorry for myself, convinced that no one cared whether I was dead or alive. I was very surprised when I got a copy of the big book in the mail the following day. And each day after that, for nearly a year, I got a letter or a note, something from Bobby or from Bill or one of the other members of the central office in New York. In October 1944, Bobby wrote, "You sound very sincere, and from now on, we will be counting on you to perpetuate the fellowship of AA where you are. You will find enclosed some queries from alcoholics. We think you are now ready to take on this responsibility." She enclosed some 400 letters that I answered in the course of the following weeks. Soon I began to get answers back. In my new enthusiasm and having found an answer to my problem, I told Dory, my wife, "You can quit your job now. I will take care of you. From now on, you will take the place you deserve in this family." However, she knew better. She said, "No, Dave, I will keep my job for a year while you go save the drunks." That is exactly what I set out to do. As I look back on it now, I did everything wrong, but at least I was thinking of somebody else instead of myself. I have begun to get a little bit of something I am very full of now, and that is gratitude. I was becoming increasingly grateful to the people in New York and to the God they referred to, but whom I found difficult to reach. Yet I realized I had to seek the higher power I was told about. Hello, lunch. This is goosebumps. This story time. Get your bottle, get your snack ready, and sit down on your blanket. As I look back now, I did everything wrong, but at least I was thinking, okay, here we go. Yet I realized I had to seek a higher power I was told about. I was all alone in Quebec at the time. The Toronto group had been in operation since the previous fall, and there was a member in Windsor who had attended meetings across the river in Detroit. That was AA in its entirety in this country. One day I got a letter from a man in Halifax who wrote, "One of my friends, a drunk, works in Montreal, but he's currently in Chicago, where he went on a major binge. When he returns to Montreal, I'd like you to talk to him." This is the stories of drunks. Hello, lunch. I've been listening to metal. I listen to Killswitch Engage, and I've been listening to the metal station a little more. You inspired me, okay? I met this man at his home. His wife was cooking dinner, their young daughter at her side. The man was wearing a velvet jacket and sitting comfortably in his parlor. I hadn't met many people from high society. I immediately thought Oh yeah. Yeah, I like Kill Switch Engage wasn't too I liked them, yeah. End of Heartache. Some classic emo metal. Yeah, emo metal. Um I forget the name of the other one I was listening to. I think the name it's XM Radio Octane. I've just been listening to that station. It'll come to me. I immediately thought, what's going on here? This man is an alcoholic. Wait, what happened? I met this man. Jack was a down to earth person. He was used to discussions about psychiatry, and the concept of higher power didn't appeal to him. Oh, End of Heartache being one of their albums. Okay. I'll have to check it out. I'm getting into metal now. So I might have to get a guitar teacher. Yeah, I know. I was looking when I when I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm looking for like mental health. There's no mental health category that I could find anyway, or like depression, or I don't know. Or I was looking for health, or just anything. I almost picked fitness, like sports and fitness, but I saw heal. I was like heal, and there's a bunch of like heal games. I thought it might be funny if I pick one of the games like about a hospital or but I saw heal. I was like, "Oh, it's just plain heal." I'll go into that category. I'll probably be the only one in it, but that could be a good thing. Oh my god, that's funny. Heal. There's a lot of categories. There's a lot of categories on Twitch. If you just type a letter, then all these like weird games that pop up and categories and stuff. It's like, everybody goes into the big categories like just chatting that has like 500,000 viewers. So if you don't have over like 10 viewers, you're going to be like pages and pages and pages down. So like good luck anyone finding you. I usually just do talk shows and podcasts. They should have a story time. I wonder if they have like they need like a story time category. I could read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to like elementary school kids. Oh, a ham babe pool stream. Oh, I'm working on it. I just started going back to AA like 2 weeks ago, so I'm gonna get some junkie women to come in, and I'm gonna put a beach on my green screen, and then they can like jump up and down in front of the green screen in bikinis, and I'll throw ham at them while they jump up and down. Actually, I bought some ham um today, so it's ready. It's in the fridge and it's ready for the next ham cast with all the people. I'll probably have another ham cast like with like a few other people on this week. I just gotta book it. I'll probably book it tonight because I'm gonna do stand up tonight with a bunch of people. So I gotta remind myself. Your bed is like you hid two dead bodies underneath the sheet. One is an adult, the other is a kid. Yeah, and the pug is guarding my bodies in case the someone tries to take my dead bodies away from me. God, they do look like bodies. Oh my god. I should get some fake limbs. That would be funny. It's almost Halloween and just have like the limbs sticking out from under the blanket. Yeah, that's a good idea. I wonder if Amazon has fake limbs. The worst shtick for a comedian to have. I forgot what I was talking about. Talk about killing a set. Hmm. Oh, I can kill a set. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's for me anyway. I don't know about other people, but when I do stand up, I for some reason I'll sabotage myself, you know. I think it's like a fun challenge you can do, you know, you can sabotage your set and then try to win people back. Oh man, bombing's rough. Two dead bodies in your bed, comedian killing a crowd. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I slayed. Oh, I slayed. That was so funny that I just took them. Thanks for laughing. You laughed yourself to death. Now you're mine forever. Get in my bed. Need to now I'm gonna change the category to the necro stream. The necrocast. Oh, that's crazy. I wonder how long somebody what if somebody streamed, oh my god, dead bodies? I wonder like how long they could get away with it. What's the longest someone's ever streamed a dead body on Twitch? That's what I want to know. I want to do a funeral stream. Oh my god. My dad's about to die. Maybe I can talk to the I would do that too. That's how sick I am. I would stream I would stream my dad's funeral. I would never want to watch it again. That would be so weird. Rotting Corpse has release ASMR. Oh wow. Rotting Corpse gas? Oh, that's funny. Dude, that would be good. That would be good for Halloween, you know? ASMR. Uh you could have some limbs and a head sticking out of a big pot and just put the microphone on top and then you could hear the bubbling and gas releasing. That's a great idea. And some the maggots. You could hear the maggots like eating. Oh yeah. Uh, Get what I was reading here. I was very surprised when I got a copy of the Big Book. As I look back on it now, I did everything wrong, but at least I was thinking of somebody else instead of myself. That's the way to live life. I met a man at his home. His wife was cooking dinner. their young daughter at her side. The man was wearing a velvet jacket and sitting comfortably in his parlor. I hadn't met many people from high society. I immediately thought, what's going on here? This man isn't an alcoholic. Jack was a down to earth person. He was used to discussions about psychiatry, and the concept of a higher power didn't appeal to him very much. But from our meeting, AA was born here in Quebec. The fellowship started to grow, most particularly following the publicity we got in the Gazette in the spring of 1945. I will never forget the day that Mary came to see me. She was the first woman to join our fellowship here. She was very shy and reserved, very low key. She had heard of the fellowship through the Gazette. For the first year, all the meetings were held in my home. There were people all over the house. The wives of members used to come with their husbands, though we didn't allow them in our closed meetings. They used to sit on the bed or in the kitchen where they would make coffee and snacks. I believe they were wondering what would happen to us, yet they were as happy as we were. The first two French Canadians, sounds like Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's real culty. AA is real culty. It's just this is like 100 years old. Like, it's so crazy how fast language changes. Like the way they write. The way they write seems so awkward. They were probably writing how they talk, and it seems very formal and awkward, and it doesn't really flow. It's like so weird how things change. Like he was saying he bought a 1931 Ford. It didn't even have a name. It's just like what was that, a Model T? Like what he had he bought like the first car. And then his brother, if he stayed sober, his brother promised him the second car ever made. Like, oh wow. Yeah. But I think yeah, it's old English. It's old English, and a lot of it is hey buddy, there's the second car ever made. Yeah, yeah. His, bro- he's like, if you stay sober, I'll give you car two. Yeah, and I don't. AA is weird. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I think AA sounds culty and stuff. There's a lot of phrases. There's like a lot of phrases people use to talk about alcoholism. So because everybody repeats each other, so it sounds cultish because we're all using the same phrases that nobody else uses except for people in AA. So yeah, it starts sounding super culty and weird sometimes, but oh yeah. I mean, I've never really met somebody. I don't know. I mean, the place I've been doing stand up the past 3 years, and it's like an apartment show. basically just for comics only. That place is more of a cult, I think, because we do chants. We'll chant offensive things, and I feel like a chant is much more culty. Uh, I think a chant is even more culty than a prayer. Um, I think I think I think AA is culty because everyone agrees on all these phrases and terminology. Well, we do a rape chant, you know. I'm not proud of it, but we'll chant rape. Trump. Do a Trump chant. Trump, 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 Trump. And and then I think Trump and rape are the two most popular chants. But then if some weird funny word pops up or phrase, someone will get inspired and start chanting that. Yeah, a rape, because people make rape jokes. Comics. I think every comic has a rape joke. Um, so it's been less chant is a weird word. It's been less chanty lately. So maybe tonight I'll have to, I'm not usually the leader of the chants. I get a little embarrassed. I don't always want to join in these chants. I mean, it's not a serious chant. It's more of we're chanting as a joke. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, when everyone starts chanting. It's pretty funny. But yeah, we're not chanting. We're not seriously. Maybe some people are seriously. I mean, some people do like Trump in that group. So there are some people that are, but we all just chant whatever the chant is, we'll chant it. We don't discriminate against what the chant is. We'll chant whatever. Wood-fired pizza? I thought AA must have. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about oh my God, not in AA. Yeah, definitely not in AA. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the stand up the stand up show that I do once a week. Not a We don't chant rape in AA and we don't chant Trump in AA. Oh man, cuz yeah, people in AA would not take kindly to that at all. Uh, it's funny cuz comedians and people in AA are like almost the opposite people. Like the things that people in AA get offended about, comics would never get offended about, and like vice versa. Get AA to chant "come." God, dude, I'm so introverted. I'm so introverted in AA. Uh, I have to force. That's one of my things that I'm working on is forcing myself to share in AA. So I'm like I'm like so far away from starting a cum chant in AA right now. Oh man. But if I that would be epic if I could get that going. A cum chant in AA. Oh man. Stand-ups are much more casual, not very serious. Yeah. Yeah, they get offended about weird stuff. Comics get offended about politics and politically correctness, and then people in AA get offended if you're not politically correct. Um, but people in AA also can talk about some really vile stuff. But it's like it's so different. It's like one group is trying to better their lives, and then the other group is mostly complete degenerates trying to make other people's life worse for a laugh. I mean, that's extreme. That's extreme, but yeah, it's kind of like that. Bring the house down with a nut chant as your way to break the ice before sharing. Oh man, yeah. I do not want to bring up sex in AA, especially because I go to AA meetings in West Hollywood, so there's a lot of gay guys there. So I, um, I want to be friends with them, but I don't want to start talking about sex. Or I could start talking about sex and do some cum chants and make it like uh really straight cum chant, like uh come in a woman, come in a woman, come in a woman, come in a woman. But see how that could be, if that would be offensive. That would be offensive. That would be offensive at an AA meeting. This is exactly what I'm talking about. But at a stand-up show, at a stand-up show, people would love it. They'd be like, "Yeah, come in a woman. I fucking love women, bro." Go to Sex Addict Anonymous pretending you're not a sex addict and do what? I've been to those meetings before. Um, but yeah, I could go. It's called SLA, SLA, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and I always think it would be funny to go to a meeting and just be like, "Yeah, I don't have a problem with sex or love or anything. Like, you guys are just showing off in here. Oh, you're addicted to sex? Well, lucky you. Like, some of us don't have that problem. Sorry. Oh, man. Oh, look at you guys. So sorry you guys are getting laid all the time. Oh, man. You guys really have a problem. You're getting so much ass. That's terrible. Oh, man. Yeah. Boo hoo. Let me help you guys. Poor you. That sounds disgusting. That sounds like slang for anal sex or something. Slaw. Oh, that'd be funny. That'd be funny to go into the meeting and like, hey, is this a slaw meet? Is slaw? Is that slang for anal sex? Slaw. Or they could have just left it AA, Anal Anonymous. I'm addicted to anal. James Franco used to be my sponsor, and he would go to those slaw meetings. Yes, dude. I would walk around with James Franco, and every woman would just stare. I had never experienced that before in my life. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy. No wonder he's fucked up. He just goes around fucking everything. Oh, I guess I outed James Franco, but oh well. I don't care. I don't like him. I had to name drop. I got to name drop. That's my thing. I name drop James Franco. That's my talent. That's one of my secret talents. Yeah, I was homeless when he was my sponsor. He got me a background acting uh agent. It was pretty nice. She would just call me with jobs. Cuz usually if you want to do background acting, you have to call in, but she would like give me jobs. But yeah, I blew it. Yeah. I think James Franco is playing he's playing some weird character uh like Fidel Castro or something like that. I think he's playing Fidel Castro in a new movie. Which when I heard that I was I was like, "Oh, maybe I will watch a James Franco uh movie again." I got nothing against him. He's just, you know, how did he know you were homeless? Oh, well, I met him in a AA meeting, and he thought I was funny, and no one really talked to him, and I had just gotten back from vacation or seeing my family, and he was started going to my home group. So I started talking to him, and I acted like I didn't know who he was, and then we just became friends. And then he asked to sponsor me, and then but then after that, then he like got like a million sponsees, and he was acting like the Jesus of AA, and which I can't blame him. Like that's fine. He's like helping people, I guess. I don't fucking know. Uh, but Fidel Castro, as you've never seen him before. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. I don't know. I hope he's a good Fidel Castro. That's all I have to say. He has, so it's hard for celebrities. I'll defend James Franco right now. It's hard for celebrities. He gets everything he wants all the time. Um, and it destroys him. It destroys, I mean, it destroys you. It makes you a monster. And then it's hard for him to even go to AA meetings and stuff because he just becomes a monster. Well, I mean, not maybe not a monster, but he gets a bunch of attention at AA just like he does in the real world. So it's hard for him to like be a person because he's like everywhere he goes, he's James Franco. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to explain, but when you see it, it's like, oh man, it's kind of like it looks nice. There's a lot of great things about it. Like you get a ton of attention and everything you want, but also like everyone's interested in you all the time. That's got to be really annoying. It's like sometimes you just don't want anyone interested in you, you know? It's kind of it's kind of it's hard to like it's hard to imagine what that's like until you've experienced it and you're like, "Oh, I can't be out in public and be left alone anymore." Okay. I Now I will just go into isolation. That would be tough. I probably wouldn't make it. You become a CIA asset? Like what? Like you become so famous that the CIA is after you? Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, it's sad. You know, like who wouldn't have a sex addiction when every woman wants to have sex with you? But it's yeah, it seems great, but you know, it kind of yeah, it destroys you in a way. When you get everything you want all the time, it destroys you. Cuz then when you have everything you want, when you have everything you want, you have nothing cuz you have nothing to look forward to. But he has acting, so he can always do a new movie. Like you become a lizard person that has to consume gold to continue living. Oh my god. Yeah. I think that's what the CIA is. I think the CIA are the lizard people. And we were talking about that yesterday with my friend Rojan about how the CIA is paying off Congress so they can do all this like secret lizard stuff, you know, so they can hack everybody and become the next Skynet like Terminator. You know, they're like the CIA and the NSA. They're the synthesis. They're the ones that are gonna, you know, the cameras are gonna be what rules the world, and I'm part of it because I'm streaming. So we're gonna. That's the robots, the cameras, and the surveillance. That's Skynet, and they're just gonna attach bombs to drones and guns to drones. He is also being accused for multiple times. He probably can't tell which one is actually care about him or just using him. Yeah, and the girls feel the same way. So yeah, and he, you know, God, he's used so so many women, but then you know he's made no promises. He's made no promises to these women, and then they expect something, but then he just has sex with them once, and then that's it. And then so they're hurt. So then they file a sexual assault case, you know. And then at the same time, you know, he doesn't know who to trust. Like it would be, you know, that's the downside. That's the very very downside of it. That's a very bad side of getting every woman you want is that, you know, you could get in really big trouble by some hurt woman who files a false case against you, and you can't trust anybody. So yeah, it's pretty bad. You ever wonder how many pictures of buttholes are on the internet? Um, I haven't wondered that, but I used to have a joke that okay, I had a premise of a joke where we legalize rape, but hear me out, okay? Um, it was for a good reason. It was we legalize rape to stop rapes because what we're gonna do is let women kill their what do you call it? Their predator. If you that's what we let women kill them so they can be hunted. But as part of that bit to stop false rape accusations, we're gonna have we're gonna have a hall of holes. We're gonna have a building in downtown Los Angeles, and every year from when a woman starts her period, every year we're gonna take measurements and a picture of her vagina, and we're gonna measure how wide it is, and we're gonna put it in the hole of records. And so if she claims that she's raped, we're going to go back to the hole records and we're going to look at her hole. And so then you'll be able to have some frame of reference. So, she says this really tall guy with a dark complexion, you know, raped her, and we go to the hole records, and her hole's smaller now than it was in the whole records, and we'll be like, no, I don't think so. We've got clear evidence right here. So yeah, I think we need a building that's full of pictures of vaginas that are measured for and they need to have their health. So yeah, I haven't thought about buttholes, but I thought a lot about other holes. I mean, you could put a butthole in the hole of records too. I mean, I guess you'd have to, because it's not like when you rape a man, you got to use the butthole to get the best. You know, a year is too long to examine. Yeah, I know. It's a flawed bit. You know, my bit doesn't make any sense. I need more science behind my bit. I'm gonna have to find a different way. We'll just create. We should just monitor people. We should have cameras at the bottom of toilets, so every time you use the bathroom, you're recorded, and there's some record of your ass. I mean, that sounds crazy, but look what the future is now. Look what's happening. Like, I mean, it would sound ridiculous to have a video screen on a phone like, 20 years ago. It sounds ridiculous to have a video screen in your toilet, but guess what? I am going to be the inventor of that, and we're going to have shit streams. We're gonna have live shit streams, okay? And you can watch anyone's toilet, whoever opts in, whoever. But soon, you won't be able to opt in. Soon, toilets will just have video screens and cameras, and everyone will be streaming shit everywhere. That's the future I want, you know. I want to be able to see everything all the time. Like God, you know, you can get a notification when James Franco's taking a shit and I can watch him. Oh yeah. All right. Oh my God. I mean, I think if you can imagine it, it could happen, you know? No matter how crazy. I don't know. I didn't read the Harry Potter books. You're probably joking, but I believed you for a second. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the premise of a Harry Potter book is the magic of the toilet, the magic, the great portal of the John. Uh, bippity boppity boop, bippity boppity poop. Oh, yeah. Oh man, yeah. You got to be pretty sick. You got to be a sick person to watch a shit stream for sure. But I won't judge you. I'll just say you're sick. Um, but yeah, how do we? What were we talking about? Skynet, CIA. Oh yeah, the lizard people. Talking about the lizard people. It's funny because I hang out with comics and like a lot of them are conspiracy theorists and they're always talking about aliens and lizard people. And one of my friends has a bit like people with autism are actually like possessed by demons and aliens sent the demons. He's a character, man. He plays this game from like 2002 called like the something of Camelot, the Knights of Camelot or something. And it's an MMO from like 2002 and he still plays it and he cheats and levels all the way up. So the so so like the only reason he's really still playing this game is cuz he has some weird friends that still play it and he likes trolling the other people that play it. It's so weird, but it's like talk about a cult. Like that's like a cult. Oh my god. These people are still playing this game. People do funny stuff. Not to sound like a scat obsessed German, but you ever look between your legs while you dump on the toilet? Horrific. Scat obsessed. What a phrase. Scat obsessed German. I'm half German. So, yeah, sometimes I look, sometimes I don't. I've looked before, but, while you're shitting and looking, you know, I worry that the shit's gonna hit my balls because you gotta angle your body if you want to look, and I'm not that flexible, so I gotta really angle. That would be horrific. Poop on your balls. Oh man, that's the fun of it. Oh god, That's the whole thrill of looking at your shit when it's coming out is getting some on your balls. Don't you know? Don't you know how to play the game, bro? Don't you know how to play the watch your shit game? The more shit on your balls, the better. That's how we play. You can't win unless you're balancing a whole turd on your nuts as you bend over to watch it all. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. That's some metal. That's some metal. That's like metal lyrics right there. That's like some death clock, like metal lyrics. Oh man. Oh yeah, we were talking about James Franco. Somehow we went from James Franco to Skynet watching you take a dump. Oh dude, those you're right. Hello lunch. You're right. The best streamers the best streamers would be playing your game where you bend over to look at your shit and it lands on your balls. That would be like a real game that people would be streaming on Twitch. And every time somebody got a sub or something, they would have to like catch a whole turd or like oh man, the guy would be like taking laxatives all day long so he could and like eating bean burritos so he could just constantly shit all day. It would be some famous there would be some famous streamer that could shit all day long. Oh my god, I guarantee that's a thing. Oh my god. I'll have to like maybe I can start that self-suck streams. Oh no. Join me on my self-suck journey as a as I train my flexibility to greater depth. I mean, I would probably watch that for a little while. I would probably watch it just to just because I feel like I need to judge someone real quick. I'd be like, oh my god, have you seen this guy? Oh wow. It's like you ever watch that Toad PhD guy? You just watch him because he's fat, because you just want to watch a fat guy. It's like the same thing. Like you watch someone trying to suck their own dick. Didn't Marilyn Manson have his ribs removed or something? So, or Maynard from Tool, like one of those guys allegedly suck their own dick or like hurt themselves trying to suck their own dick. That's what the world needs. There's not enough weird sex streams like that. Yeah, that stuff's probably on OnlyFans, right? Join me on my self suck journey as I train my flexibility for greater depth. Like that's like the perfect title for an OnlyFans. Like, see, that's the thing though. I bet if you go on OnlyFans, there's not a lot of stuff like that. So I bet you could probably really have a career if you put that title and do that on in an OnlyFans. Like, there's probably not a lot of. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how many sick fucks, like the really sick people on OnlyFans who mess with their poop. You could make good money if you blow your back out trying to blow yourself. You probably could. You'd probably get famous. You could be one of those idiots on Instagram being a sex advocate. I mean, I'm up for anything. So, and go. I sustained a life altering back injury trying to self suck achieve my self suck lifestyle. My self suck lifestyle. Donate to my Cash App. I mean, I know I used to hang out with this stripper that was also a comic, and she's she is a she's a sex advocate, right? She's a sex worker. She's a she's a sexual abuse awareness trauma person who's always getting angry about whatever people say. And she Bobby Lee had a joke about how he had sex with a 14-year-old hooker in Tijuana, and she got up and started screaming, and like almost like she walked up to the stage and started screaming at Bobby Lee in the middle of his stand-up routine, and she instantly got banned from Comedy Store and the Improv. She wasn't at the Improv, she was at Comedy Store, but she got banned from both right there, and probably Laugh Factory too. Um, but she goes insane. Like she hears about abuse, and whether it's made up or not, she goes crazy. And she accused me because, oh my god. Okay, here's this story that I just remembered. So we were both hosting the show I'm about to actually go to tonight, and she fucking thought of the idea as a bit when we go up again to bring the next comic up, I'm gonna sexually assault her. So we went up on stage and we were up there, and I grabbed her and I pushed her against the wall, and I started like comically like dry humping her like that. And guess what happened? It got serious. And she was like, "You never do that again." I was like, "Dude, you told me. You just fucking told me to do this as a joke. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now?" So imagine how many other people like her are out there. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a type of person. That's a character now. There's a bunch of these different characters. These what did you call them? Sex advocates. There's a bunch of these sex advocates out there. Um, and they're sex workers, and they want you to respect them as people poop on their face and rub their balls all over it. And we're not whores. We deserve respect. We're sex workers. And it's like, no, you were molested by your dad when you were a preteen, and now your mind is really messed up. You know, not to judge anybody, but that's what it is. I'm not judging. I'm just saying you know, that's why they get so insane about stuff that has nothing to do with them, and about stuff that, yes, they shouldn't even be mad about it because it's nothing personal to them, but all of a sudden somebody says something on stage and they're triggered. That's rough. Good luck on your self-suck journey. I gotta bail though. I'll catch you later, bro. All right, hello lunch. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for joining. I'll talk to you later. I'm gonna listen to some more metal and get back to you as I further my research into the land of metalcore. Um, yeah, it wasn't. It's yeah, it was scary when that happened, but I talked to her and we smoothed things out and it was cool. And I don't know, I like her. I think she's funny, but I can't hang around her anymore because she's really insane. But she has a good heart. She's just twisted. It's like I feel like a lot of my friends are like that. Oh shit. I gotta feed the dogs. I gotta feed the dogs and walk them. So I will end the stream. Oh wait, I'm running late, so doors at 7 instead of 6:30, but still starting at 8. Still starting at 7:30. All right, cool. Sorry for texting on stream. Um so yeah, I got some time. I got some time, but I'm basically done with the stream unless anyone else uh wants to contribute. If anybody else wants to share, if anybody else wants to share something in the chat, I'll wait a couple minutes and feel free to bring up a topic. I got another 10 minutes left in me. And then, if not, I will come back on. I gotta stream more. I haven't been streaming enough the past couple weeks because I've been feeling unmotivated and down. But now that I'm going back to meetings, I'm feeling better. I've already made a bunch of friends, which is like that's the amazing thing about AA. Um, if you're not an alcoholic, maybe you know one, and you could go to Al-Anon and then do the same thing. But if you ever just need friends, I never had this until AA. You can just go to an AA meeting, and I guess you could, you could always go to like a homeless shelter or volunteer and stuff like that. But for me, it's so much. I guess because I've done a lot of AA, it's so much easier for me to just go into an AA meeting because I know what it is, and then I know people there are willing to like give you their phone number. So I just make a bunch. I just make whoever I talk to, I make friends with them. I don't give a crap who they are. They're in the AA meeting. Now you're my friend. So it's pretty awesome. And I've mentioned I've mentioned the stream to my new friends I've met in AA, and none of them seem keen on it yet. But there's some actors in there, so eventually I probably will have one of my AA friends on the stream, which will be different because they're not they're not they're not really performers unless they are like performers that I meet. But seems like nobody nobody wants to say anything in the chat, so I'm gonna go pee. I'm gonna walk the dogs, and I will be back. Maybe tomorrow, but just follow if you want to get a notification to see when I'm live again. You can subscribe on YouTube and hit notifications, or follow me on Twitch. Later, Ham Squad.